Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we have a big video today as we are taking a look at the 2021 NHL Draft. Who is projected to go first overall? We'll be taking a look at that in this video. So let's get right into it. So, going into last year, right? We had the big draft last year with Alexis Lafreniere and Capo Caco and that whole... Oh no, Capo Caco was 2 years ago now. Shit, man, time is flying by. But Alexis Lafreniere was the first overall pick. And right before those final rankings, Bob McKenzie was talking about this year's draft, or what would be next year's draft at the time. And they were talking a lot about Finnish forward playing in the SM Liga, R2 Ratu, and he was projected to be the next big thing for the NHL. Reminded a lot of people of Capo Caco, who, again, another Finnish forward who has a lot of scoring prowess, and that was the guy that everyone was talking about. But now, here just a few months before the 2021 NHL Draft, R2 Ratu is projected to be between 10 and 15 in this year's draft. And that means there is a couple of new names that we will be looking at. So there's three that I really, truly believe will be the first overall pick. But there is that fourth option, which I think is a bit of a wild card, depending on who gets that first overall selection. So let's get right into it. So this is going to be more of a positional draft. If you need a defenseman, you're going to be taking a different guy at number one than, say, the team that needs a forward or maybe even a goaltender at that top spot. So the first guy we are looking at is the 6'5", over 200-pound left shot defenseman from the University of Michigan, Owen Power. 6'5", 200 pounds. This kid is an absolute monster. You know the last time we saw a 6'5" player picked in the NHL draft first overall? That's right, 1989. The Quebec Nordiques selected Matt Sundin. Yes, 1989. So it's been over 40 years since we have seen a 6'5" guy selected first overall. Matt Sundin, which is a pretty big name, right? So that has been a long time since we have seen a guy of this frame get selected first overall. And we've had some guys that are close. Guys like Aaron Ekblad have been fairly close. We've had Victor Hedman, but again, he wasn't selected first overall. He was selected second by Tampa behind John Tavares, but that's for another day. So that is a big selection, and a lot of people do get quite concerned. Are people too busy looking at his size and his height and looking at his weight and seeing that just, and overlooking maybe some of his play? I don't think that's the case. Owen Power looks like a legit player, and he was selected as a finalist for the Hobey Baker Award, best collegiate player here in 2021. So he was in that conversation. This is a guy that's going to be, at the very least, a top 3 selection. I do not think he will slide anywhere past 3, but I think number 1 right now, 10 out of 10 scouts have him as a number 1 selection this year. Another guy that is going to be in that conversation, maybe you're looking for a forward, but maybe a bit of a scoring guy. And that would be Dylan Guenther of the WHL's Edmonton Oil Kings. Edmonton Oil Kings forward Dylan Guenther, he's a forward. Again, of the Edmonton Oil Kings. He has shot up the rankings recently. And a lot of people feel he could potentially overthrow Owen Power as the first overall selection. Now, the only thing that is an issue here for Getcher is his position. As a winger, he is not as highly thought of, or maybe not as valuable as, say, the big 6'5" left shot defenseman, or potentially a center, which I'm going to be talking about in a minute. So Dylan Guenther is definitely going to draw some interest. Again, this is a guy that we've heard thrown around the league. He was with the Moncton Wildcats, I believe. Oh, no, that's another guy. But this is... Dylan Guenther is a good player, and he will be in the conversation. No, he did not play with the Moncton Wildcats. Yes, I made that mistake. But the Edmonton Oil Kings have a really talented player in Getcher, and this is a guy that was projected to be a middle first rounder. He has really shot up over the last couple of weeks. We'll see how he does down in Texas for the World Junior Championship later this month. That will have a lot to say about where Getcher sits, but as of right now, he could potentially overthrow Owen Power at number 1. And the only other guy that everybody is realistically saying that could overthrow Owen Power at number 1 is, drumroll, William Eklund, a centerman playing in the SHL with Djurgårdens. We've seen a lot of Swedish guys come over to the NHL and be really solid, and William Eklund is no exception. William Eklund seems to be the next great guy in Sweden. He has a lot of comparables to, I see him as a lot as a Rickard Rakell, a guy that can really, he's got a good two-way game, but he can also score goals. And I think that reminds me a lot of Rickard Rakell, when he's got the same kind of role with the Anaheim Ducks. You could see something like that here with a guy like William Eklund. A lot of people have him projected to go to the Columbus Blue Jackets around 4, maybe 5 in this year's draft. But he could go number 1. Again, it's that kind of draft. Now, the thing is, too, he is a center, and a lot of teams will consider that, especially a team like the Seattle Kraken, wink, wink. When you've got a team in Seattle that, I don't know, maybe needs a franchise player to build around, maybe they look at a William Eklund, who is a top-tier center, who you can't always get those guys, in free agency or, even in a trade. William Eklund is a guy that you have to acquire in the draft, and they may look to get William Eklund to start to solidify their team. Now, like we saw with the Vegas Golden Knights, yes, they built their little bit of a roster, but they did select Cody Glass with their first pick. Interesting comparable? Yes, he is a center. Interesting, right? Not that interesting, but that is something to keep in mind. They are going to look for centers, especially with their first couple of picks. I would not be surprised if Seattle, even if they get the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth pick, that they select William Eklund. I think he is going to Seattle wherever he goes. But it could be interesting if Seattle has the first overall pick. If they win the draft lottery this year, they have the third best odds. If they do, in fact, win the lottery, that would make things very interesting at number 1. Would they take Owen Power, or would they look to solidify their center core with a guy like William Eklund? And the other guy that we have to talk about, and this is a real wild card, and I think this is only for a select few teams, but we do have to consider the goaltender right now from Lilia, and that is Jesper Wallstedt. Jesper Wallstedt is now becoming the next great thing in Sweden. And he has been drawing comparables to Henrik Lundqvist, but better. Better than Henrik Lundqvist. And anybody that's even in the realm of Henrik Lundqvist definitely is going to garner a lot of attention, especially at the top of the draft. Now, if you're the Detroit Red Wings with the first overall selection, do you take Owen Power, or maybe a Mapineers, or a William Eklund, or do you go with the goaltender, Jesper Wallstedt? Now, the Red Wings do have a goaltending prospect. I believe his name is Gustafsson, but this may be the next great thing in Wallstedt, and it may be just too great of an opportunity for them to not take it. And goaltending is such a huge position in today's NHL that maybe Steve Yzerman says, you know what? Here with the first selection, we may be taking this guy. We really feel that he is the guy for us, and that may be what Steve Yzerman and the Red Wings do. But again, we've seen him, these goaltenders fall over the past couple years. Spencer Knight, Yaroslav Askarov. These guys were supposed to be maybe top 5 picks that ended up sliding into the top 15. So I think it's a bit of a long shot to expect him at number 1. But like I said, realistically, you're looking at a left shot defenseman in Owen Power, a top pairing defenseman, William Eklund, who has the potential to be a first line center, and you also have a guy I already forgot his name now. Jeez. In Dylan Guenther from the WHL's Edmonton Oil Kings. Those are really the top 3 guys. So if you need a really talented winger, Dylan Guenther. If you need that center, maybe you look at William Eklund. And if you need help on the blue line, it could be Owen Power. Like I said, it has a lot to do with who gets that first overall selection and what they're thinking. The Buffalo Sabres, with the amount of talent they have up front, do they really need a guy like Dylan Guenther or William Eklund? Maybe they look to add Owen Power to solidify their defense and build from the defense up in their roster. We'll see what happens, but like I said, there's still a lot of comparables because we just don't know who's going to make the postseason yet and who is going to be seeded where. Like I said, even I've been making some mock drafts and running the Tankathon, but Nashville got the second overall pick and selected Dylan Guenther. But realistically, Nashville will probably make the postseason this year. So how legitimate really is it right now? So like I said, we can only do mock drafts, but again, at the end of the day, once we figure out the order of who's drafting where, we're going to have a lot better picture of where we're going to see certain players go, especially in this year's draft, because it's not as much on the talent, it's more about what position do you need help in. Do you need help with a blue line, a goaltender, a forward, a center? That's really the kind of draft we're looking at. So, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think of what do you guys think? Do you think we'll see potentially Owen Power, William Eklund, or Dylan Guenther as the first overall pick? Or maybe somebody else, maybe Matt Beniers, maybe we'll see Jesper Wallstedt as the first overall pick. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, you guys know what to do. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.